Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us again today for our last webinar of this OP series. If you're not joined us last week, my name is Paula Hopp. I work for the South African office at Datamine, and I'll be taking you through this third and last part of our webinars. Last week, we went through how to prepare our data for scheduling and some basic scheduling functionality. And today, based on the feedback we got from last week's and the week before that, we decided to focus a bit more on long-term scheduling, right? So Studio OP has a lot of short-term planning functionality available. We can do a lot of activity-based scheduling based on drill, blast, and loading. But this functionality, the short term, has been on the software for a very long time. So I think it's a bit better, it's well known. And so that's why we decided to focus on the new tools. If you feel like we should do a short-term scheduling webinar, and if you feel like it would be useful, let us know on the survey at the end, and maybe we can organize one extra one. Okay, so today what I'm going to focus on is using Studio OP to create a schedule. I want to explain how to use optimized sequence on a block model, and also at the end how to use EPS for scheduling. This section is going to be around 40 minutes, and if you have any questions about the software or about the webinars, just send it to sales@dataminesoftware.com and we'll be in touch. Also, as you know, at the end of this session, you're going to receive an email with a recording of the webinar and a survey. It's very quick, few questions. So if you have the time, please go through it. It does help us to make sure we get better at the webinars and to also make sure we talk about things that you want to participate in and learn about. Okay? So that's it. Let's just dive right in. Okay. So hopefully everyone is familiar at this point with the new Studio OP interface. We have a lot of clients using this already, so this is the ribbon version already. So on the first webinar, just to recap, we went through the design part for the pit modeling. Last webinar, we went through the setup and the reserves tab in detail. And today we're going to focus a lot on scheduling capabilities and EPS connection. Okay, so where do I want to start? So you can see it's the same data. We're using the same data as last week. So 3 pushbacks, the same mining blocks we created last week. So the place where we want to start is something that we skipped last week, which is when we were doing the sequence. There was an option for an optimized model sequence. And this wasn't available for us last week. We didn't talk about this. So this is where I want to focus today. So the optimized model sequence is a sequence that is generated based on a block model, right? So in this case, here is a block model that was generated by NPVS, and we did a schedule in NPVS. So before we jump into OP, I want to take a step back and see where this information, this block model with the sequence is coming from. Okay, so this is NPV Scheduler. This is our optimization tool for OpenPit. This is where we import a block model, create an economic block model, run Lesch-Grossman algorithm to create our ultimate pit, generate our pushbacks here, and NPV Scheduler can do some scheduling also. So I just want to show you quickly this part of NPV so we can connect where this information is coming from into OP, right? So into NPV Scheduler, you can, after you've finished designing your pushbacks, you can bring your pushback files, the designed ones, back into NPVS. So here I brought my pushback files back into NPV. I want to create a schedule inside those pushback files. I also set up some targets. So I set up a total ton, total rock target per year. And also I set up a ore target per year right? Minimum, maximum, and the target. You could do strip ratio and other things. I did total rock and ore. And these are the parameters that NPV is going to use. The pushback files I imported, the targets I generated, and all the economical information that is already in NPVS. Right? So all the mining costs, all the processing costs, everything that is already in here will be used. So after I ran, this is the report I get. So I got 6 years small mine. It's just a 6 years life of mine. I have a ramp up on rock, total rock in the beginning. And I have some numbers for ore here. So what NPV is doing is running an algorithm on the background on the block model to create a schedule trying to maximize NPV, right? So this is a really good place to start for life of mine. So it's trying to maximize an NPV, our NPV still. So it's trying to optimize to make sure our project generates the maximum NPV possible, right? So let's just take a look at the results. So just so we can visualize quickly, this is the result. This is the first year, then second year, end of period, third year, fourth year, fifth year, and sixth year. Right? So this is just a visualization for the wireframes for each of the end of year wireframes, end of period wireframe. And what is the output from this process, from NPVS? Is a block model, right? So let's go back into Studio OP and let's take a look at this block model that came from NPVS. So this is the block model that came from NPVS, and already as we load, it colors by year. So you can see here, dark blue is year 1, 2, there's 2 shades of green, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, the red at the bottom. So you can quickly see here that there's already a sequence on my blocks from my block model. So let's just take a look at the sequence. So you can see we start mining and start. So this is the sequence that I get from NPVS. So you can see based on our pushback. So blue is pushback 1, green is pushback 2, and red is pushback 3. You can see that it's not mining pushback by pushback, right? It is following a sequence, but it does pushback 1 first, then starts mining a bit on pushback 2 to strip, then pushback 1 and 2, and so on. So you can see this is a sequence, an optimized sequence that came from NPVS. So what I want to show you now is how do we connect this sequence from a block model from NPVS into Studio OP, right? So I'm using NPVS as an example, but if you had an optimal sequence or a sequence, any sequence on a block model, and you want to incorporate that into your mining blocks, you can use the same system as we're going to do today. So it's very simple. We come to the setup. So this is the same setup as we had last week. We go on define model. I import my new model, so pit a full mod sequence. And the one thing that I need to set up to use a field from the block model as scheduling sequence is this attribute here. So I selected that from my block model, the shed_sequence field, it's going to be, I assigned to be the scheduling sequence. This is the, so if it comes from NPV, this is automatic, but you can choose any attribute from your block model to be the scheduling sequence, right? I assigned my block model to my pit, save, and I move to reserves. Since we're using the same data, and this is something that we discussed last week, but if your block model changes or if you have a grade control model, you don't have to rerun all the steps, right? My mining blocks are ready. They're all done. I just need to reevaluate with my new block model. So here you can see it's picking the new block model with the sequence, the old legend, and we're going to use the same thing. And let's evaluate blocks. So what's it doing now is taking the solids from the mining blocks, that we saw last week, and it's evaluating again. So now, because of the attribute that we set up as scheduling sequence, it's going to flag these blocks with a sequence number, a model sequence number, right? So the evaluation is completed, and now we have a model sequence number into our mining blocks. So from the sequence number in the little blocks from the block model, now they're flagged into the mining blocks, the solids. Okay, so now if we look at the sequence again, where we started this session, you can see optimized model sequences available, so I can see those. So you can see here that is creating a sequence throughout all of my 3 pushbacks, right? And this is my model sequence. And you can still have a custom sequence, which we did last week, bench by bench, pushback by pushback. So this is going to go bench by bench, pushback by pushback, and we're going to have both options now on our data set. So when I come to create data set, I created this mod sequence 3 data set already, and this has both of the sequence options, the bench by bench and the model sequence. So here in schedule, I picked up the mod sequence 3 data set, and we can start scheduling. But I just want to show you the 2 different sequence options that we have. So on the 3D, okay. So let's start with the model sequence, which is what we're focusing on today. So let's just look at how this sequence looks. So you can see it starts, let me just turn the block model off. It starts on pushback 1, bench by bench. You see there's no undermining, but it then moves to pushback 2. So you see this is the sequence that is following the block model sequence. So even if we look at the block model and we go over the sequence, you can see it's going to catch up with my mining blocks. So you see here the greens are gone. So if I mine a little bit more on my blocks, then it shows the block model. Now if I mine the block model, you can see it's the same area. So you can see the sequence on the blocks is following the sequence on the block model, right? What is the second sequence that we have? It's just the bench by bench. So this is, let's just take a look. So this is going to go bench by bench, pushback by pushback. So first, pushback 1, then pushback 2, then pushback 3, right? So you can see the 2 sequences are very different. So let me just show the whole blocks again. Okay, so we can see that even without doing any clicking, any selecting of the blocks, I already have 2 sequences I can use for my scheduling. Okay, so let me just do quickly a review of the setup that we did last week. Calendar. So I set up this calendar, 3 years calendar. Each period is a quarter, just for us to get started. The destinations, we have the same thing, a roam pad, a very low-grade stockpile, and a dump. On the machines, we have the same 2 loaders that we had last week, and I added, well, there's the default loader, so I changed the default loader to have some better capacity. So this default loader I'm going to use as the total capacity of my mine. So let's say if I just want to do a quick schedule and don't be too concerned about my machine allocation for now, I just want to do production profile or profile. I just want to see how my pit is going to look at the end of each quarter. So for that, I'm not too concerned about machine allocation. So I just created this default machine as the total rate for my mine, right? So I can do a quick schedule. One thing, so this is the steps that we set up last week, and we could from here start the schedule. But one thing that I set up here, I just wanted to show you, is haul trucks. So we can set up haul trucks with availability. There's a lot of information you can go in here. You can select which loader can load this truck. You can set up a loading time, queuing time. You can set up ripple and retardation curves. So this is going to help us calculate cycle time, correct? So I set up the trucks and also some haul routes. So this is where you set up your haul routes. You can import a network if you have that saved. So I'm not gonna go through the steps. I'm just gonna show you this nodes and network here on my wireframe, right? So this is my pit with the blocks that they need to be mined. I have all of my bench exits, my pit exits, and then intersections, all my destinations, and the roads that connect to them. So this is a very simple setup. You can see everything is draped into the topo. But if you have survey data, you can bring in the survey data and use the survey data here. Why is it important to have a good haul route? So that the truck can understand the gradients and calculate the cycle time properly. Otherwise, it really doesn't help as much. So this is a simple setup, but I have done very many other setups that are way more complicated than this. So we can have multiple destinations, multiple intersections, multiple dump points into the same dump. So this is just one example of the things that we can do. So, okay, the setup is done. Let's start with the scheduling. I'm going to move to my period number 1 here. So I just have a brand new schedule. It's empty, right? And last week we started by doing manual schedule. So select blocks and schedule, select blocks and schedule. Today I want to start using the model sequence. So let's say, as I was saying, let's think like I was saying, I just want a production profile following my model sequence, which is my optimize schedule sequence. So I can just quickly come here, select all my blocks, schedule. What is the difference now? Instead of using order blocks by selection, which is when I click, I order my blocks based on an attribute. So here you can pick anything. So you can see here you have the sequence. This is the bench by bench sequence. And you have a model sequence. So let's use the model sequence. I'm just going to select my default loader. And you can see on my material routes already picks all the bench exits, ramp sectors, surface sectors, calculates distance for each of my blocks. So it calculates cycle time. This is going to be over allocated. I'm putting everything on the first period, just like we did last week. The trucks are over allocated also. Okay, and we're done. So the same thing we did last week. I just did a sequence using the model sequence, not by clicking. Everything is on period number 1. We're just going to spill over so we can have a 3-year schedule quickly. So what is the spillover doing? So it takes the sequence, it looks at my machine and says, okay, how much of this sequence can my machine do this month, this period? Everything else goes to next period, does the same. What my machine can do on period number 2, it finishes period number 2 and move the rest of the sequence into period number 3, and so on. So it's just moving my sequence, allocating a machine. So now it's doing the scheduling, right? So after I have a sequence, I apply a machine and it's scheduling. Now I have times, start date, finish date, start time, duration, right? So it's finished. I'm just gonna delete all of this extra activities here so I can see what is my end of year 3 period looks like. Okay, so there it is. So I have a quick schedule following the optimize model sequence. If you were not here last week, so let me just show you quickly. There's a lot of reports here that are connected and they're live. So after I've done my scheduling, you can see here period 1. This is the end of the period wireframe, right? This is how much I mined, how much of my machines I used, how much is sent to the stockpile, and each of the periods, you can see this gets updated automatically. So you can see all the results for the different periods, how much I'm mining of, how much I'm sending to the ROM pen, to the stockpile, and so on. So you can quickly see the periods here, and the schedule is following that model sequence and not a selection, right? So this is good, but let's say I want to have a lot of control on the beginning of my year. So let's say on my first 6 months, my first 2 quarters, I want to do a manual sequence, and then I want to use my model sequence. Not a problem. So you can combine the two. So you can combine what we did last week, the manual scheduling, with what we just done now, the automatic. So let's just do that. So I'm just going to save the schedule. So I save schedules often just to have backups and also to have different scenarios, right? So you can see yes. Okay, so you can see different options of your schedule, so you can always save different schedule names. Okay, so let me just undo everything, undo all the mining, and start from scratch. So we're going to start on period 1, and the same as we did the recap of what we did last week. Just going to select the blocks I want to mine in the order I want to mine, right? So now I have to order blocks by selection, right? So use the selection order. So now I want to apply a loader number 1. The routes are still being picked up. The cycle times will be different because this loader, for example, has a higher loading time. Okay, so let me just leave this open here. So let me select a couple more blocks. Now I'm going to apply loader 2 here, right? So I can have a lot of control, visual selection, applying my machines one by one, period by period for the beginning. So one thing that I do quite often also, let me just turn this off. I use the clip using benches to help me on my scheduling, right? So let's start again. I select a couple blocks, and let's say now I want to select on the bench underneath it. So clip using benches is going to help me. I can just move down and now select these blocks here, right? So if I turn this off and you take a look, you can see I selected blocks in different benches. So the clipping using benches really does help me. So again, order blocks by selection. And I'm going to apply loader 1. Okay, so let's say this is my first 2 quarters, my first 6 months. So let me just take a look and see if everything's okay. So I'm going to spill over, but not forever, just for my next period and to period 3. Okay, so I'm just going to delete these blocks that are over allocated here. Okay, let me do the same for, let me just delete those ones too. Okay, so you can delete activities. You can see there's a lot of flexibility into the software. Let's look at loader 2 now. Okay, I'm gonna spill over for my second quarter, and now spill over to my, so it's not long, so I'm gonna leave it. Okay, so let's say this is where I am on my third quarter, my period 3, and now I already did the manipulation I wanted manually. I'm just gonna select all my blocks and use the second option that we had, which is order blocks by model sequence, right? And I'm just going to select my default machine because now it doesn't really matter which machine is doing what. I just want to know the profile. Yes. And we just use spillover to quickly create my schedule. So fall, spillover, repeat spillover, and spillover. So this is just doing that same process that we did before, but it's creating a schedule for me that has in the beginning manual selection, block by block, and then at the end I can use a model sequence, or I could have used the bench by bench sequence again, right? Because I have both of them flagged on my blocks. So this is finished. Let me just delete the overallocated. And here I have. So, for example, this would be a way to create a schedule using both of our techniques, the manual and the using the sequence option. And here you could export to Excel, you could create your animation, you can color by animate, so you can see what is being mined on which period, right? So this is a bit easier when we move to the next period to see what is being mined period by period. So this is a schedule done, right? Another thing I wanted to show you here is this update button. So I really like this update button because it helps me not to have to recreate schedules, not to have to redo things all the time. So let's say if I had this schedule here that I just did quarterly, but I want to see more detail. I just want to see the same sequence, but I want my first year to be monthly. So I just come here and say, okay, let's generate, okay. We have to start in January, which is when my schedule starts. And let's just generate 12 periods that are monthly, and quarterly I have 8 more periods. So I have the same time frame, but divided now the first year into monthly. So what the update schedule does is it's gonna, if I click update, it's just gonna update using the same blocks, the same tonnage, everything the same, just changing my calendar, right? So you can see here live automatically that, okay, so this is just a report, nothing has been changed really, just the periods have been divided. So you can see here that I have 20 periods now. In the beginning they are monthly, and I can go out straight from the update, do visualization on period by period. I can see how much tons I'm mining in January, how much tons I'm mining in February, how much tons I'm mining in March, which blocks are being mined in each of those months. So I had a quarterly, now I have monthly. So quick and easy. And this is not only for calendars, right? So if a machine changes, so let's say my loader 1, someone tells me, Paula, there's a problem with this machine. It's not really working very well. Let's have the first 6 months, the availability is only going to be 65%. Just for us to be sure, we're going to do more preventive maintenance on it. Okay, so what does this mean? That my machine now is slower, right? It's not going to be able to do as much tonnage as before. But I still want to see what is going to happen with my schedule, just leaving the same sequence. So I can come here, update my loader, and so let's look. On period 3, it's doing 535, right? So if I update, my loader 1 now is slower. So you can see automatically it's going to update everything. And when we look at period 3, just okay, so this is the update. This is everything that changed, all of the things that changed in my schedule. So if I look at my period 3, you can see the machine was not available, so it meant that it did less tonnage. So quickly, easy, you can see how, and all of this is interactive, right? So you can see which blocks are being left behind, which areas are slowing down. And if you think, no, I want to have the other, I didn't save the other schedule. So there's this undo button that goes back straight to, so you can see here automatically shows you the update, your old schedule, that you can come here and just data save as, for example, monthly. Okay, so this update can be used for calendars, machines, trucks, if I change my destinations, the capacity of my destinations. Even if I change my reserves and outlines, I can update my schedule without starting from scratch because I already have a sequence that I want to use. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show quickly on OP. How to do scheduling, how to do more options on scheduling, how to update a schedule inside OP. So OP has the capability from pit design all the way through scheduling on the same platform, right? So we saw last week, we did animations, we exported to Excel. What I want to show now is that we can export to EPS. So this connection with EPS, I'm going to show the two different ways that EPS and OP connect. They can connect, right? So the first one is, so this is going to be a bit smaller, but we'll manage. So the first option is when I did all of my scheduling in OP, right? And I want to use EPS as a reporting tool. So I want to see the Gantt chart. So I just exported to EPS. You can see here they are connected. So let me just connect link to EPS based on my block ID. So they are connected. So if I select any blocks here, you can see it shows me on EPS automatically. So everything is connected. If I select also on EPS, it shows me on Studio OP. So I can do my schedule on OP and use EPS as a reporting tool. The Gantt chart functionality, it has a lot of reporting capability. We're going to see a bit more at the end of this, but this is already a template of a report that comes straight from OP. So this is the default, comes as a this report with tonnage, what is going to what destination, what is the allocation of my loaders, how much am I using. So you can create a lot of reports on EPS. So you can do your scheduling on OP and use EPS as a reporting tool, right? So this is the one option of connection. So you can see they are connected, but EPS is just a reporting tool. The other option is for us to use EPS to schedule. So let's say if I came straight from my reserves here with my model sequence, I create a new schedule file, right? And I import my calendar, my machines, which is my setup, and straight from here, without scheduling, I can now come and export to EPS. So if we look at the machines now, you can see that the machines that I have are not allocated. So what I have on EPS, okay, yes, sorry. What I have on EPS is just the tonnage and the volumes for each of my tasks. So I have all of my tasks, they still connected to EPS. So if I come to EPS, I can still select everything, right? So you can see each one I click, it selects on EPS, but the machines are not allocated. This is just tonnage, volume. This is just the blocks I have on EPS. So you can see they are connected. I'm just going to open EPS a bit more now so we can see it better. One thing that we're going to do now is, okay, this is the default export, right? But we can use templates on EPS. So I have a template that I did previously. So if I have a template for EPS and I merge, right? So file merge. So I'm just going to replace all of the templates calendars with my new calendar now. Okay. right? So we can see, so let me just show you this. This is my old EPS. You can see here there is no filtering, no grouping, no sorting available. My reports are all standard. This is the default that comes. If I use now my template, I have my own report here that shows me the resource, the phase, tonnage per task. I have already the sorting, the grouping, and the filters that I want. So let's say if we set up this once, you don't have to do this multiple times, right? So you can use this template. And you can see here my machines are still not allocated, right? So I'm still going to do the schedule here. I just apply a template to help me. So I don't have to do the same formatting of the EPS every time, right? So let me just assign this. Okay. So here I have all of my tasks. What do I need to do now? So EPS has multiple ways to schedule. Okay, I'm going to show to you today one. EPS is very, scheduling on EPS, you can see here all the tasks. Scheduling on EPS is very common for underground. So with 5D Planner, you create all the tasks like we just did, you export to EPS and you can schedule there. So a lot of our clients wanted this functionality. So this is maybe for OpenPit is a bit new if you use Datamine technology, but this is another option available. So for example, if I use a filter, I say my pushback 1, so I'm just filtering pushback 1 here. We can see here on my report that this is just phase 1, and I can assign a resource to it. So I'm assigning loader 1. So now I can see the resource is assigned to loader 1. You can even see here it's assigned. Now I'm gonna, for pushback 2, I'm gonna select all of my pushback 2 activities, and I'm gonna assign loader 2. You can see here it brings the production rates. So assigned loader 2, you can see everything gets assigned. The resource appears here. And last but not least, pushback 3. I'm just gonna, just for the exercise, I'm just gonna assign this default loader, but I'm just gonna change the production rate to like 50. It's very slow, just so we can see all of the pushbacks being mined and the reporting also. So I assigned all of my, take the filter out. So I assigned all of my activities. So each of my activity now has a resource, a loader attached to it. But you can see here they're over allocated, right? So what do we do now? We need to do resource leveling. So now based on the resources I have, so I only have so many hours a month, and I have this resource, it's going to level my activities so that I don't have over allocation. So tools, resource leveling, there's a lot of different options on resource leveling. I'm just going to do a resource leveling, and I'm just going to ask the EPS to prioritize my model sequence, right? So look at all of the blocks and all of the options that I have, but try to follow the model sequence. So because the model sequence is the optimized one, just try to follow that as you do the leveling, right? So level now, you can see now my machines are not over allocated. My tasks are leveled through time, through my periods. I can come here now. Let's just look at this a bit better. So I sorted by start date and I grouped by resource. So you can see here, this is the path for the default machine. So it starts on this block and then moves to this block throughout time. The same for loader 1. You can even change here labels. So let's say I want to see the name of the block that it's mining. So first it goes to this block. You can use any, this is the block ID, but you could have any block name that you wanted. So you can see which block is after the other. So that's very good Gantt chart. You can send this to the field. So now I have a schedule. Now I have a schedule that was done on EPS, right? And this is fine. I have a report here. So the report is also updated for how much tons I'm doing each month. how much is going to the stockpile and the dump and so on. So you have all of this information here, how much of my machines I'm using. So this is good. I have a Gantt chart, I have a report, but I want to see my animation, right? And this is the other way that EPS can connect to OP. So now if I click on refresh, it brings the information from EPS into OP. So we can see here on the EPS taskbars. Okay. So even this report, this is the same report that we have here. On EPS, it brings the report to OP, and you can come here and on the EPS sequence, look at your sequence, block by block, right? So let me just change the color so we can see this a bit better. Let me just put bench. Okay, so we can see that there is, let me just synchronize again, refresh, okay, reverse, perfect. And here we can see our blocks being mined. Okay, there's a bit of a glitch here on my animation, but you can connect to EPS or you can connect to Studio OP or EPS InTouch, and you can see all of your animations. Let me just reconnect our VR blocks here. Maybe this is what's happening. And refresh. Okay, this looks better. Okay, yes, so I can see now my animation. This is the EPS version, that the EPS schedule that I did. So you can see the animation here, and you can decide, I don't like this part, I want to connect this block with this, so you can even link on EPS here, right? I know I've been a bit over the time, but I just want to show you one last thing, which is really important, reporting. One cool thing about EPS is I can now create a pivot table straight on EPS. So you did your schedule on EPS, and you can just come here and say, okay, let me create a pivot table by period. I want to see how much tons. Each of my resources did. So let me just find resources. So you can see here, each of my loaders, how much did it mine per period. You can see here there's totals we can add in, just like Excel. And you can even, for example, say, okay, now let's just use per phase also. So each phase, there's a loader. We can add the benches, right? And one cool thing, another cool thing, is that now that I have my pivot table here, this can be part of my template. And if I select some of the periods, it automatically creates a chart for me. So let's say, for example, if I take the bench out, so this is telling me how much tonnage the loader one is doing per period. And if I select more periods, if I select more periods here on my pivot table, it gives me even more information. So it's interactive. The most I select or the least I select, it shows up in a chart. So it's really easy to do reporting now. All of this can be set up in a template. Every time you export, it's there. So I think I know this was a lot. And if you have questions, please send it to me. I'll be happy to go through any of this again. So this is it. I hope you guys enjoyed. And thank you for joining us.